Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I hope you've been joining us for all the June sessions we've had this month on the Women's Export Academy. And this is our final session, the last week in June, customer experience. So I'm Karen Parker. I'm with the U.S. Commercial Service in Austin, Texas. And the Women's Export Academy is a collaboration initiative between UPS and the U.S. Commercial Service and part of our Global Diversity Export Initiative and Women's Global Trade Empowerment. So we also want to thank our assisting outreach organizations, and they are from the city of Dallas, the Colorado Economic Development and Tourism, the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, the Minority Business and Export Centers in Arizona, Dallas, Houston, Louisiana, and San Antonio, the National Association of Women Business Owners, the New Mexico International Business Accelerator, the Texas Department of Agriculture, the Women in Tech, Women's Business Enterprise National Council, and the Women's Business Enterprise Council South. So, this next module of the Women's Export Academy today will discuss what is your customer's online experience and why is it important for your business. You want to make sure your customers come back for the future growth of your company. What steps can you take to ensure that? What can you do to enhance and interact with your customers online or via your website? Some strategies and tools to review your website, enhance customer experience to retain them, and keep them coming back will be what our speakers will discuss today. We've seen both of them on previous session, and we welcome them back today. So I will just do some quick abbreviated intros so we can get right down to this exciting information. First, we have Maria Louise Boyce, and she's Vice President, Global Public Affairs at UPS for 25 years with experience in leadership in international trade, customs affairs, cross-border trade, and in her current position with UPS Women's Exporters Program, has trained over 17,000 women and small businesses over the last 3 years. James Bledsoe, Director of U.S. Department of Commerce, U.S. Commercial Services E-Commerce Solutions Center, which focuses on advancing the expertise and knowledge of cross-border e-commerce and digital strategies to all U.S. small and medium-sized business, and has conducted hundreds of website gap analysis reports for small and medium-sized businesses. So I'm going to turn it over to Maria Luisa, and let's get started.
Thank you so much, Karen. Welcome and good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here and in this beautiful morning. For us at UPS, it's an honor working in our collaborative initiative with U.S. Commercial Services and all the partners that are helping us. And we're going to have a customer that a topic that is so interesting, and many times as a small businesses, how do we think about it, right? What is that customer experience that we want our customers to have when they are engaging with the business? And why is it important to think about customer experience? And when we were preparing for the presentation, it's something that really it is good to put ourselves in the position if we are the people buying or being the consumer or the customer of the business, is how do I feel after experiencing and engaging with the business? And I apologize, my dog is having a problem. One moment. These are the Zoom moments that happen. But there's 4 areas that we want you to think about when you think about having a positive customer experience for your customers. One is that a satisfied shopper contributes 14 times more as much revenue to a business if you have a buyer that is not satisfied. That is something very important to have into consideration. The other part is that you want to make your customer loyal customers, meaning that if a customer happens to have a bad experience, it happens when you make an order, when something happens. If they are a loyal customer, you have a better chance of keeping and retaining the customer, even if they had a bad experience. And so having a good loyalty and having brand recognition is very important. The other part is that the word of mouth is big for businesses, and I'm sure you all have experiences. But if you have customers that give good recommendations for your business, that has shown that really helps for other customers to trust that recommendation. 84% of customers do not trust as much advertisements or what they see coming from the business. They trust most the reviews that they read. And this is from a pulse of the online shopper, a study that we do, and we check the input from customers. And in today's world, right, we have become so e-commerce and everything written online, this makes a big difference. The last part, which I think is very important, is when doing the surveys about customers, one of the things that customers are now looking more, and this changed a lot during the pandemic, is that they want to make certain that they feel as that the business that is dealing with them recognizes them as an individual, not as part of everybody that is buying from the business, meaning that the quality and the experience that they have interacting with you will make a difference. Why is this important? As we continue and move forward, let's look at some of the statistics. And this is if we go to the definition of what is customer experience, is how your business leaves the clients feeling. What is that result that they have from the interaction that they had with you throughout the process, not only when they were looking at your product, but also when they went to the web page, when they bought it, when they received it, afterwards. Every step of the journey has an impact. And so one of the things that we find in the surveys that we had, and this was on the pulse of the online shopper again from UPS, is that customers expect highly personalized shopping experience and are willing to spend more money for it if they have the opportunity. And so when they were talking about their shopping experience, 71% of those that responded to the survey said that they were frustrated when they felt that their experience was impersonal. It was not tailored. Or one of the 61% of users are unlikely to return to a mobile site if they have issues accessing the web page or if they had a negative experience. So we need to be aware that all of these things have an impact on how the customer looks at the brand and coming back to buying or shopping. And as you're thinking about this, Maria Luisa, that makes sense, wonderful, but how am I going to manage that? So we're going to talk about how can you make it in a way that is not going to kill your budget and your cash flow as a business, but at the same time that you are conscious in the steps that you're taking on how you can address this part. And if you look at the steps of the customer journey, is this sum of experiences that they're going to go through, we have it divided in these 5 steps. The first step is the awareness, right? This is when the customer has awareness about the product. And so how is that identification of the product when they're doing the preliminary research about where can I find the product that I'm looking for? And when they get knowledgeable about what to expect from that product. That is the first step of the awareness, which you have to be aware, no pun intended, because you have to make certain that you are answering and have a good response to this part as they're looking for the information. The second step is consideration, and this is when the customer is deciding, okay, there are 3 companies that are selling my product, and I am making comparison as a consumer of where do I find the best product, and they do into a deeper research, right? Is it a word of mouth that they heard, oh, you know, this product has great reviews, or I have heard this brand is good. That's when they are now considering where are they going to do their shopping. Then you have the acquisition, and this is when they're going to purchase a product. That experience in that area, of course, is related to how was their experience. They went to your webpage, or they went to wherever you're having your selling. They chose the product, they found the product is available, the color that they want, the size that they want, or whatever description you have, and they have the option of how it is going to be delivered, how soon can they have it, and they're able to go online and buy it and have that experience, and they can pay however they want to pay. That is the experience of the acquisition from the customer perspective. The next stage, the fourth stage, is the onboarding. And this is when the product is received, when they open the box and here's the product, and then when they can potentially provide feedback about the product. I don't know, many of you, I'll use as an example, there's companies now that send you products where you can test them and see if you like them. If not, you return them. I can think of a Stitch Fix, for example, or those that do or the products that they send you for you to cook at home, or things like that. All of this is a whole process and an experience for the customer where they want to make it easy, and they want to feel like, oh, I love it, I got my product, what I bought, I like it. Or the possibility, they send me the wrong size, or how easy it is for them to return the product. This is the onboarding part of the journey experience. And last but not least is the loyalty and advocacy. And this is the part where you can, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, but it is when your customer becomes loyal to you. They love the product, they love the brand, and they're able to make it happen. And they want to talk about it, and they leave you a good review. All of these things are important for you to have into consideration. And as you're doing the touch points of where they are and what are they doing, you have different tools or examples that can help you make certain that that journey works as it's supposed to work. We have in here, for example, having newsletters or frequently asked questions. As you build, for example, input that you receive from your customers when they were in the acquisition process or the onboarding process, you can turn those into FAQs that can help your new customer that is coming. Oh, someone has had this situation, and the company is making it easier for me to identify how to work it out. So these things are important. As you go through the process too, of course, it's important to have what are the options that you can offer your customers about delivery. This is an example of what we UPS has. You can use whoever you want to use, but it's important that you have options, because customers now more day and day are looking for alternatives. Do they want it right away? Do they want it later? All of those options allow you to give flexibility and make the journey better for your customer. And it's important for you, once the customer has bought the product, what is that engagement that you have after the purchase? And this is very important. And probably all of you, when you have been consumers and you make buys, it's important that you receive the notification, right? First, very important, order of confirmation. Your customer bought the product, immediately they should receive, here's to confirm that you bought your product, that description, and when to expect that product is going to arrive. 1 or 2 days after delivery, after you have confirmed that you have notification that your product has been delivered, send something about education about the product, how to take advantage of the product, how can you use it step by step. If you do a video or a guide, all those things are things that customers make them feel special, because you're paying attention and you're following the journey of your baby being your product, right? You have sent it, you tell them how to use them 1 or 2 days after they have received them. And also afterwards, do a request for a review. 3 or 4 days after the delivery, when you believe the customer has had a chance to enjoy, open, and use the product, ask them to provide a feedback to show how valuable it is, because it shows for you that you value the opinion of your customer. All of these steps make them feel important and special. You care about their business. And last but not least, if there is the opportunity of refills or there is a expected expiration date, this is an opportunity to remind your customer that, by the way, it is time for you to refill X, or the expiration date of your product is coming up. Would you like to buy another one? All of these things make the customer feel special, that you're paying attention to that area. Not everybody will respond, but they will notice that you have that personal approach. So, what are some of the strategies to retain customers? And it's important to know that retaining and having loyal customers has a lot of economic advantages for you as a company. And something that we have found out is that when you have loyal customers, you are able to save money. It is cost effective. Getting a new customer can cost 5 times more than retaining an existing customer. How is that? Because you're investing in ads, you might be given bigger promotions than usual. I mean, there's a lot of investment that comes from the business. And so having a loyal customer is cost effective. And so that customer experience that will turn them into a loyal customer, very important. You also have a probability higher to sell a new product with a loyal customer than you do with a new customer. In a survey also that we did, we found out that if you have an already loyal customer, you have 60 to 70% probability of selling a new product than if you had to a new customer, because they trust your brand and they already know you. And that goes combined to that is very important to have into consideration, because they're going to, and if you want them to try a new product, 50% of those that were surveyed said that they're more likely to do it if they are a loyal customer. And so for you, it's important to have and make that journey something that turns the customer a loyal customer to your brand, to the way of you're treating them. The other part is that by increasing customer retention rates by 5%, it can help you grow your profits from 25 to 95%. What does that mean? If you're able to keep loyal customers that trust your brand and that they know that they're going to be treated well, even if they had a missed shipment or something happens, they're going to continue loyal to the brand, and that is going to help you to grow more and sell more, which is going to help your profit. So retaining customers and turning into loyalty becomes a good business decision. There's different ways that you can look at how to retain customers and how to make them loyal. Something that is very important and that you need to take into consideration is pay attention to what is causing customers to change. And that's the notice churning signs in advance. Meaning, when you start seeing that customers are not coming back, or they're leaving reviews that usually they wouldn't leave, have in mind, pay attention of what are those signs that are happening and what might be the consequence. It can be your web page. It turns out that one page is not working well, or someone wrote a bad review and you didn't respond, or there was not attention to it. It's important that you have that information. And how do you keep in mind which customers are coming back or leaving? Have a list of your customers, communicate with them, or refresh the list every 6 months. Make certain that you have an idea of what are the trends of who's purchasing in your webpage. This is important because you can use different tools that exist nowadays in your webpage that can give you that trend and that behavior of your customers. The other way to help too is have personalized follow-ups. And why is this important? When you have a system that can help you do an outreach that is consistent, you can create follow-ups that can make them personalized. Let them know that, hello, Maria Luisa, we thank you for your purchase of X, Y, and Z 6 months ago. We wanted to know how are you doing. check out our new products, but have that individual personalization, and you're able to do it with some of the softwares available. To create loyalty on customers, it's important to target, for example, with the special offers. If you look at the purchase history of your customers, you can determine, you know what, this is a product that is selling a lot. I can have an offer. I can do something special, and then you can provide that information to the list of customers that you have. Or also create a loyalty program, a VIP, a very important person program, where you can provide it to your customers, your more loyal customers that you know buy frequently, and you can provide more incentives to those VIPs. These strategies will help you create that loyalty and makes the customer feel special. So what are some of the tools? And we have talked a little bit about this indirectly. And this number that we found out, we thought was very telling, and it was that 68% of the online shoppers that were surveyed leave the brand because they believe the business doesn't care about them, which we thought was very interesting. So how do you make that approach that you see your customers as individuals, not as part of the group, without going crazy, right? Because what tools can you use to do this? And that's where the customer database helps you very much on keeping records and being able to manage that information. And that the customer relationship management software, which is what exists, is one of the examples that you can use in terms of how can you best handle information and be able to communicate and be able to do more with that information. And it is, what are the personal details that you can have in there. You can enter into this CRM and customer relationship management. How your customer became a customer? So that can give you an idea, right? Was it a social media? Was it a website? Was it an ad? Or was it word of mouth? If you can collect this information, that tells you more about your customer. You can also record the interactions that the customer has with the business. What is that purchase history that they have? And also any new information or other information that can be useful. Once you have this database and this information, then you can use it to communicate with your customers. And you don't have to buy, there's different sizes of customer relationship management software that you can use. You have the, I don't know, your favorite car, the Cadillac or the Porsche, or I don't know what car you use, or you can have a starter, a CRM. But then you can start growing up in stages and adding what more information and what type of interaction you want to have with the customers. In summary, a good customer experience will generate higher revenue, make a customer loyal, and create a customer advantage for the company. And this is something that you have to keep in mind. We always say the customer is always right. I think I will make the nuance, the customer has to have a good experience so that can help the business grow. The customer experience is the sum of experience that customers go through when interacting with your company. This is through the buying process. What are those touching points that you have? How are you connecting with the customer? And that experience has to be very important. More and more customers want personalized information, and they need to know how to follow up in order to feel important for the company. They have to understand what is the best way. I got my product. Do I write a review? Do they have the opportunity to write a review? Or what was their experience about returning? Monitoring clients is fundamental to note if there's a change in behavior, if you have to target customers for special offers, if you have to reward loyal customers or create a VIP program, if you want to personalize more the communication. And having a database that is organized is important. Now, keep in mind in all those things, always have the legal team check the language on how you're keeping information, asking permission. All of those things are important. So with that, I think that this is the ending here. And I know if you have any questions, you can go ahead and put it in the Q&A. And while I stop my sharing, I'm going to turn it back to Karen. Thank you, Karen.
Very good. Oh, that was a lot of information, Maria
I
Luisa, in
know.
a short amount of time. And I'm just still processing it all myself. So thank you so much. And if anyone has any questions, please post them in the Q&A. We're going to do that at the end. And you can put it in chat, you can put it in Q&A. Either one will work for us. So we'll be monitoring them both. So James, are you ready? We have a few minutes left. Actually, quite a few. So please, let's get started here.
Well, thank you for the introduction, Karen. Let me adjust my camera so I'm not cutting off the top of my head. Good morning, everybody. Let me share my presentation with you all. So I'm here to talk to you all today about the customer experience and build off of the presentation that Maria Luisa just gave on making sure that your web presence, your brand presence is conveying that international sales to your consumers. So again, I'm James Bledsoe, Director of the E-commerce Solutions Center. What I do is work from a national office, helping our local U.S. export assistance centers with trade specialists like Karen and Jessica around the U.S. focus on digital strategies for businesses, for small businesses like yourself. So today I will briefly cover e-commerce to contextualize it for this business setting. And then I will cover the 5 steps of a digital strategy, followed by our website globalization review gap analysis service. Hopefully some of you may have heard about it, but I'll be covering it in detail today. And then I'll wrap up with some free online resources to get you started on your digital strategy today, and hopefully working more closely with Maria Luisa and UPS, getting your products overseas. So hopefully this doesn't take much convincing for you to understand that e-commerce as a sales channel is growing. Suffice it to say, without too much information dumping on you by way of charts, all the information out there shows a steady minimum 8% growth rate for the foreseeable future for e-commerce sales. Despite global downturns, despite economic upsets, the sales channel will continue to grow. It is not going anywhere. So how do you capitalize selling through e-commerce as a business or perhaps as a service provider? Maybe you don't have a tangible product. Can you sell online? Well, yes, you can. A lot of you as businesses with websites might be familiar with localization, where digital marketers, translators translate your website to a local market. You might be familiar with that because a lot of service providers out there do this service for money. And so they will tell you, you have to do this, of course, in order to make money. But what's often overlooked by businesses is the beginning steps to localizing your website. And that is just starting basically with an internationalized website, making sure your website is functionally appropriate and suitable for online search, that it can be found if it should show up in a search. And then is it structured to facilitate an international visitor going and contacting you for a transaction of some sort? Once you get that established, the basic standards for international search, your website's working, then with market research and working closely with trade specialists like Jessica or Karen, seeing where your products and services are being sold internationally, and then refining that down with e-commerce specific market research, in addition to looking at your own website analytics, you're going to use those 2 variables then to regionalize your website and keep looking at your analytics. Basically, what you want to do is you want to justify the traffic from that specific country that you will eventually localize into. You want to build that traffic up to justify the expense of localizing. So you're not jumping in feet first into the deep end. So basically, you want to see traffic from that local market steadily increase till you see 5% or more of your total website traffic coming from a specific market, and then go on to localization. So now that we understand the growth process here, how do we go about actually starting that? Well, that begins with a digital strategy. And with that, also begins with going all the way back to the beginning of your business and website and defining why you have a website. Are you selling from it, or are you informing to lead towards a sale? I had a client the other week that did collagen lotion in bulk. Their focus was not the individual clients, but B2C sales via pallets. And so their website design and layout is completely different than that of a B2C selling directly collagen lotion directly to a client website. And so you want to establish what you want to do and how that meets your business goals and needs. First and foremost, then you want to do an audience assessment. What does your key demographics look like, and what do they look like around the world? Also look at your competitors, understand what they're doing online. That's all in the first step right there. A lot of due diligence, just understanding how you stand and where you sit within the international website realm. Speaking of which, the next step, step 2, checking your website design for search engine optimization, SEO. Basically, you want to make sure that your website is functioning properly and you have filled out all of the areas that search bots need in order to look at your website and go, yes, this is a good search result. Put it in the list to show up. And so whether or not you go with the gap analysis service that we have at the US Commercial Service or some other services that have been popping up around out there, you need to do some form of search engine optimization. Until you look under the hood, we have to assume that it's not functioning properly until we see that it is functioning properly. And I'll tell you statistically, you're not functioning properly. A lot of our clients come in with very low search scores. And so it's very eye-opening to see what areas actually need to be fixed. And that brings us to step 3, actually fixing those back-end digital infrastructure gaps, missing elements that need to be filled out with promotional copy, fixing technical issues for the search bots to like your website more. You need to actually act on that. And luckily, out there for a lot of businesses, there's something called the STEP grant, the State Trade and Export Promotion Grant, administered by the Small Business Administration. We work closely with these organizations, the SBDCs, to be able to come up with, depending upon your state, up to $10,000 in some instances, and I'm not sure which state this is, but it sounds fantastic, $20,000 in grant money to actually improve your website for acquiring international consumers, international sales. So once you do some sort of search engine optimization, you actually fix that. Connect with us, connect with your trade specialist. We'll get you in touch with the STEP grant people, but there is actual funding out there to help you address these back-end digital infrastructure issues that need to be fixed. They cannot go on in perpetuity. Once these issues are fixed, then you can go on to step 4, which is choosing your e-commerce sales channel mix, or omni-channel. Basically, do we want to dump 10,000 into our website and 1,000 into our social media channel? Or do we want to build out an Amazon marketplace storefront and put a little bit of effort into our website? Which one is generating more sales for us? Well, that then brings us on to step 5, which shouldn't be the last step, but you should be establishing key performance indicators. Do you know whether or not your marketplace channels, excuse me, are bringing in more income, have more conversion rates than your website sales? Are you able to track that through looking at your website analytics? And so in combination with these two, you're going to be choosing how much to allocate in which countries, essentially, or which general international search aspects, be it website, marketplace, or social media. And you're going to be looking at the traffic that comes through those channels. And then you're going to be tying that to actual business formulas to make sure you understand the return on investment, the conversion rate, how much money is coming back out of that effort. But today, outside of that, that's a topic in of itself I would love to dive into. But today, building off of Maria Luisa's great presentation on international presentation and customer acquisition, is your website reaching international audiences? Is your website as it is right now? Are you 100% sure that if somebody types in a product that you should show up for in search, are you certain you show up? Well, in order to begin that process, you've got to, again, do some search engine optimization. So what are the main issues that businesses face when trying to approach the dilemma of whether or not they show up for international search? Well, the search engine optimization issues are metadata issues, basically. Mechanical inputs for the search robots that are either blank or have product simply put into it. It needs more fleshing out, basically. That's the metadata issues. There's a few other technical areas there, but it's not like the Matrix where there's code raining down. It's more boring, textbook-like clicking of boxes and entering in 60 to 180 characters. Very unglamorous work. But outside of that, what a lot of our clients are missing is page content. What we see with a lot of businesses is we will run a crawl on their website and they'll have 33 pages and a very low search score. Well, that's simply because there's not enough page content there to have a high ranking score. There's not enough keywords across those pages. So basically, you just need to make more pages, more real estate, more reasons for keywords and backlinks to exist on your website for the purpose of search engine optimization. Related to that, which we will get into today, is the outdated product pages. I can almost guarantee you, a lot of you have product pages that haven't been touched in a year or more and could use some product ingredients, keywords basically added on there. Was it fair trade, organically processed? Is it free range Wi-Fi? You need to put that on the product page for keywords because that's what your clients are Googling. And then in addition to that, because these are international audiences, they can't lay hands on your product. So make sure there's lots of photographs, there's pictures there that are tagged and have captions for search. Make sure there's videos. And with those videos, especially if you're using YouTube, Vimeo, or whatever, that there's a video description of what's going on in that video for search. And this is the most important thing that we see when we do a gap analysis with our clients is that they have multimedia, but they don't have multimedia for search. And so they need to actually add the keywords, a transcript, describe the products, and though this may seem redundant, link to the same product you're featuring in that video, even if that video is on the product page. Again, we're doing this for search to show up for international audiences, to adding the keywords in there. What are some internationalization best practices outside of the mechanical areas that affect your ability to show up and acquire more consumers overseas? Well, again, just like Maria Luisa Boyce was talking about during her presentation, is what I like to call international sales welcome mat gestures. Do they know you do international sales? Is it abundantly clear? Do they see that it is made in the USA at the top of your pages or on every product page that it is made in the USA or designed in the USA, assembled in the USA? Some sort of indicator that, hey, we're made in the USA, and we acknowledge that there might be a foreign audience looking for something made in the USA. In addition to that, don't be afraid to just generally spell that out for a contact us page. Have a international consumers contact us here. It doesn't matter if it goes to the same general sales at email. What you want to convey is the message: we are focused on international sales and international consumers because we have a separate international consumers uh, uh, contact us page. We've actually gone through the effort of building this to display that we are focused on it. So you quite literally need to build these gestures into your pages. Understanding your audience persona comes very important with this. Understanding what your audience is looking for. Are they looking for made in the USA or designed in the USA? That's a very loose example, but you can extrapolate from there based on your products or services, basically how to articulate your web pages and focus in exactly on what your consumers may be searching for. Now, we're not talking about translated keywords or any of that. We're just making sure that the basics are there, that it's there in English. AI translation can take care of the rest. We just want to make sure for the search bots, the basics are there. And then in addition to that, for internationalization, who's going to trade shows? Cosmoprof, any other trade shows internationally? When you get to the trade show, what happens? You set up your booth, you have all of your swag to hand out. People come up to your booth, you have buyers, you have people like myself, Karen or Jessica, also trying to help you find international buyers. Business cards, flyers, free things go flying about, and hopefully it all has your website URL on that. Well, what's going on outside of this trade show? Well, in advance of this trade show, perhaps some of these international buyers are doing some due diligence, some homework before they go to the show. I think it would be a very smart idea to build out a temporary Cosmoprof trade show landing page. Hey, check us out at Cosmoprof. It shows you're engaged. It shows that you're acknowledging that the international audience would be out there looking for you, in addition to giving you keywords like Cosmoprof on your website, which you need to have on your website to rank for them. Also, with your social media postings, doing them is a great thing to do, especially in conjunction with trade shows. But what businesses often neglect to do is to make sure that in those postings, they have a URL back to their website. So they get search points for that. But then also, when I'm on social media, I don't have to dig for that URL. It's right there in the posting. I don't have to go Googling it and possibly land on somebody else's page with a similar sounding company name or similar sounding product name. You want to avoid that. You want to have these direct engagement points that, again, are often overlooked. So for your consideration with these international best practices, it's something to begin with, but we have a lot more recommendations in our featured gap analysis service here. What this website globalization review gap analysis service does is basically address the two issues outlined for search engine optimization and international layout for your website. So what we do is we take two technical website crawlers, one of which is moz.com and another one is a SEO site checkup.com. There's others, Ahrefs, SEMrush, Screaming Tree Frog, I believe. There's plenty of other search bot analog tools out there, but we use these tools. And what we do is we look at your website, like a search bot would look at your website and make recommendations on what needs to be filled in, what's currently not filled in, and what's broken and what needs to be fixed to make your page and website look appealing to search bots. Outside of that, we make recommendations like similar to the ones up above in the previous slide, where I talked about making sure it's clear on your website that you're made in the USA, based in the USA. You've got international sales welcome mat gestures, and that your website is structured in a way that if an international client should stumble upon it, it draws them in and lets them know that, hey, we are an international business. If you're in doubt of whether or not you can get this product, the way our website is laid out in certain areas, such as customer inquiries, online ordering, overseas sales, having those placed in our website will let you know that we do, in fact, sell overseas. So it's not a question you need to wonder about anymore. In addition to this, we have a follow-up resource to help you fix those exact issues that we identify. We don't leave you hanging there. We certainly don't fix them. It's a service similar to going to the mechanics and plugging in your car, and then the diagnostic tool tells you everything that's wrong with your car. That's what this service is. But then we have a referral list of local service and national service providers that can focus on these specific issues with recommendations on the e-commerce BSP directory. And you heard me mention earlier the STEP grant. So the STEP grant funds, which we also counsel about during the gap analysis service, can be used then to act on these issues identified in this report with these service providers identified in the BSP. Now, do you have to go with the business service provider listing? Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, I personally recommend during each service that you first, especially if using STEP grant funds, federal funds given to your state, to be used to boost business, I recommend that you spend it in state on a local service provider. So simply Google digital marketing, website development, and see who is physically closest to you to look at to help you solve these issues if you need a service provider. Outside of that, we have this national list. If you have something like you need a payment gateway added and you need a payment service provider, you need some digital forensics done, perhaps you're looking for a niche marketplace like the W Marketplace that is a recent CS strategic partner that's also featured on this e-commerce BSP directory. If you need that specialization, we have that directory available for you. So again, the gap analysis service identifies the areas that need to be fixed. The STEP grant available through the SBA and the local SBDCs and lending authorities is there to give you the funds to act on this. And then we have the e-commerce business service provider directory, or your local service providers preferably, to actually get these issues fixed. So outside of that, as far as a digital strategy goes, identifying your KPIs and understanding your audience is the majority of your work to do to acquire international sales. So what resources do we have available out there to help you get started now if you wanted to get started? Maybe some light reading over the weekend, help you decide whether or not you want to engage directly with Jessica, Karen, or another trade specialist more local to you in your state. Well, first up, we have e-commerce Frontline Library. This is a light blog project that serves as a learning example for our clients who do the gap analysis service. When we recommend that they add more pages, that they have weak page content, they have anemic content, and need to add more, this is exactly what they need to do. Create a page and create more pages to be on that page. This creates keywords and backlinks. In addition to that, there's some really good information on here on e-commerce size and sales forecast using Statista facts. And so what we do is try to keep a regular publication of the hottest e-commerce issues going on here. So if you ever want to learn more about the GDPR and any updates there, or an upcoming article that I know it's been long promised if you've come to the e-commerce Frontline Library since last October, but I'll finally have a USMCA update article to add to that here by the end of the month. So lots of new content being added here, lots of good resources to learn, understand, and hopefully follow up with a trade specialist to help you get more sales overseas online. We also have online market research aggregated from our country commercial guides here on the e-commerce resource guide on trade.gov/report e-commerce resource guide. What this is essentially an aggregator of all of the e-commerce sections out of each and every of the 140 country commercial guides. So what these are large phone book-like directories of everything you need to know from business to political to cultural aspects of each country, in which there is an e-commerce section. We've congregated those here for your reading pleasure. And I'm happy to say that this year, for fiscal year 23, which we go by, for our country commercial guides, I've personally sent quite a few Statista e-commerce reports for some in-depth research to our partner posts around the world. So we should have some very good e-commerce research by the country when those are published here in September for the next fiscal year. So if you're at all interested in learning more about e-commerce, we've got some very powerful information here that will hopefully help you sell more online. As I come close to wrapping up here, I would be remiss if I did not mention the Global Diversity Export Initiative, which this webinar is a part of. You may have heard Karen talk about this at the beginning introduction, but this falls under that. And also there is the Rural Export Center, which also falls under that for underserved communities. So if you are a rural business out there and looking for some export assistance, there's some extra special focus on you, particularly, and providing you help, in addition to the Women's Global Trade Empowerment. So if you're a rural woman-owned business, that's a twofer. And then also we have some administration focus on some climate and clean tech energy solutions. So if you dabble in that or know somebody who does dabble in that for business, send them our way. We are more than willing to help them find overseas sales and solutions and connections to grow their business internationally. With that, I would like to start to wrap up for Q&A. I do have my contact information up here. However, I would prefer it if to reach me, you first contact a local trade specialist like Karen or Jessica or whomever is located in your local state, simply for the fact that I only focus on SEO. I don't focus on the whole before and after counseling that you will obviously want, that trade specialist is more than happy to present to you. So if you do not know your local trade specialist, please go to this trade.com commercial services offices US and locate your local trade specialist and contact them today. With that, I am done with my presentation. Do we have any questions? You're on mute, Karen.
I was just gonna say, I'm on mute. The only question we had was how to reach their step. And I put a link in there. Each state has a different organization that administers their grant in their state. So you have to find out who that administrator is in your state. They have different times when they're open. Some of the states have exhausted funds already, but they're getting ready to kick out new funds. So you want to be prepared for what you want to do and ask for. So that's a preparation. So while we're waiting for questions, can we go ahead?
I see
go ahead.
one question. Yes, Karen in there, and James, love your presentation, and I love definitely the information about how to internationalize your webpage, right? Because we see a lot of that part. So we have 3 questions that have come up. One of them, there's an interest to know more about how can they get access to the STEP grant a loan, if I read it correctly. Let me go back and how do I get more information on the STEP grant? So that's one question. And Rafa, thank you for the question, asking about how can they find services on their website, to have services on their website. I don't know, Rafa, if I understand correctly the question on that part, but James, do you have anything on the STEP grant or a page where we can send them to?
I just included that, Maria Luisa.
Perfect.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
And if you guys are lost online too, go to trade.gov/e-commerce. We have a link to the SBA program on that page as well. So feel free to check that out. And then to answer Rafa's question, to find service providers, I would recommend going to the e-commerce business service provider directory, or simply Google website development or digital marketing and see who's physically located close to you. There's a lot of service providers out there. They do various different types of services. Some will do X, some will do Y. It's up to you to do that due diligence to find out who can do what you need for your website and meet your needs.
Great. I think those were the questions we had. Thank you so much, James. That was wonderful information. Love
Thank you
it.
very much.
Mhm.
So I think we have a quick slide next.
Yep.
And I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention. Given that this is Women's Export Academy, we have a Women in Tech trade mission. And those of that you are in the tech industry, and I'm going to put, let's see, in the webs, in the, wrong one. I'll get it in here, trade.gov/women's-tech.trade.mission I'm sorry, -mission-Europe-2022. And it will be going to Amsterdam, the Netherlands, Paris, France, and Lisbon, Portugal. And this will be coming up in the fall. Deadline will be in August. So please, if anyone's interested, or reach out to their local office as well. So wanted to bring that up since it's both women related. And then next slide.
Sorry to interrupt, Karen. I have a quick question from the audience.
Sure, absolutely.
Do indirect exporters, are those able to work with trade specialists like yourself? Someone who can get the same support like a direct manufacturer?
When you say support, we absolutely can talk to you about exporting. And some of the services are, we have to look at the guidelines for the services. All of our information on trade.gov is available to anyone as well. And here are the links. So I hopefully a lot of the information and concerns you may have may also be addressed on our website. What do you need to learn about exporting, how to be export ready, market intelligence, those reports that James was mentioning, the country commercial guides, a lot more industry reports there, his e-commerce solutions, and then some of the programs that we have, and then a link again to our local offices. So trade.gov is the place just to remember to kind of get you started. Okay, next slide, Maria Luisa. I think that one's you.
Yes. The next slide is for us in support and information that you can get from UPS, where we have information about our discounts and opportunities for you to talk to an expert in our UPS Women Exporter program. We also have opportunity if you want to talk and learn about exports. These links will give you there. And last but not least, from an NGO partner, our Acción Opportunity Fund, we're also providing support and to small businesses here in the US. So you're welcome to participate, and thank you so much for listening on this topic. So I think we're gonna welcome Jessica now, right, Karen?
Yes, and I think we have a poll as well, and Jessica and you are gonna close it out for us since we're at the end of the entire series. So thank you both.
Yes, and so I'm going to launch the poll right now. Thank you, Karen. And so I hope that you can answer this one. And in here, we're asking you to please share with us, which was your favorite model? And I asked James to advocate for his models, but he said no. I'm kidding, James. But please let us know, what were the topics that were most effective or important for you as we continue to think about future engagements? Very interesting. Thank you. And I'm going to wait for 5 more responses. Come on, so we can go over 60% response of the participants. We're almost there. We're at 55%. Thank you, Andrea. I agree. All the topics are important because they make a big part of the puzzle, right? I should have put all of the above as one of the options. Thank you so much. We of 65 response, Jessica, this is the response that we got.
That's absolutely amazing, Maria Luisa.
Yes, very interesting, right? On the topics.
Do we know what
thank you.
the topics were?
So James, we had going beyond your borders, and that's the one that we had with the Small Business Administration and Exim Bank and commercial services. We also have tariffs, Incoterms, and more. Did I share the results? No, I'm sorry.
There we go. Yep, we see the results now.
I thought that everybody was watching the results. Thank you, James. Freight forwarding, e-commerce, logistics, and customer service. And I guess freight forwarders and custom brokers was well received by the audience. And also customer service and going beyond your borders. Very interesting. Okay. So my dear Jessica.
Yes, here we are. Thank you so much. This is the end. Yes. Thank you so much, Maria Luisa, and to Karen Parker and James Bledsoe. This program has been a robust program and really helping companies to access, I think, resources that are going to be helpful for them to expand their business through exporting. So I really hope that the participants have found it to be interactive and engaging. We did, really create this series in mind with women entrepreneurs to help them really, obtain the critical information and resources and networks to help them to grow their business through exporting. And while exporting can be a lucrative business, it is important that companies have the appropriate mix of resources and networks to help them progress along, their business growth journey. So as you mentioned, we started, module 1, highlighting U.S. government international trade resources available through the U.S. Commercial Service, the Small Business Administration, and Export-Import Bank. And we learned there's a strong network of federal government agencies that offer businesses really the business and export assistance that they need to be able to access these global market opportunities. And during module 2, we highlighted Incoterms, taxes, and shipping costs, and learned about how the proper completion of export documentation can really save companies time and money. And in module 3, we talked about e-commerce solutions and the types of e-commerce, different marketplaces, and we learned about tools and resources offered by Shopify and the U.S. Commercial Service E-commerce Solution Center, which you heard again today from the Director James Bledsoe. In module 4, we talked about best practices for engaging the services of freight forwarders and customs brokers. We learned about the services of both, as well as each of their unique service offerings in export and import transactions. And our speaker today, Maria Luisa and James, you all so elegantly highlighted key steps of the customer journey and strategies for retaining customers and making them loyal clients. I thought the stats that you shared, Maria Luisa, were incredibly interesting, that the success rate of selling to an existing customer is 60 to 70%, while the success of selling to a new customer is 5 to 20%. That's incredible. We'll be sharing the presentations as well as recordings with all the participants. But I encourage our participants, if you'd like to learn more about any of the resources that were shared in the program, please visit the Commercial Services International Trade Portal at trade.gov and navigate to the Contact Us page to contact your closest U.S. Export Assistance Center, and also encourage you to visit UPS's website, where you can find more information about their Women Exporters Program and support for women-owned businesses. So as we wrap up today's program, I just like to take the time to thank our amazing team who helped to coordinate. It was, a pleasure really working with you in being able to make sure that companies get connected to the right resources. So thank you, Maria Luisa. I'd like to also thank Marlon Amorum, who's here with us. and certainly my colleague Karen Parker at our CS Austin San Antonio office. And Elise, I think Elise is on. Thank you, Elise Erickson. She is with the North Texas District Export Council and the Export Connector. So thanks to our incredible team. And once again, I just want to thank our collaborators. Thank our collaborators for all of their tremendous support. So Maria Luisa, I'm going to turn it over to you for final comments.
That is all. You know what I'm going to say? May the force be with all of us. And let us export. We can do it. The power of entrepreneurship and network is very important. And I hope that at the end of this, you know that you have a community around you to support you and to help you, which is very important. So thank you and have a great rest of the week. Thank you, my dear Jessica.
Thank you. Thank you to all our participants. Yeah, this concludes our program. You all have a wonderful week.